Artificial intelligence is just everywhere now. And for our kids, it's quickly becoming as normal as a textbook. But what does that really mean for them? Well, new research is painting a pretty complicated picture. Turns out it's a two-sided coin, with some incredible promise and some really serious risks. All right, let's get into it.
And that really gets to the heart of the whole thing, doesn't it? This is the central question that a new study in the journal Current Opinion in Pediatrics is trying to answer. Is AI going to be this amazing, powerful tutor for the next generation? Or is it more like a dangerous trickster that we're just not ready for? The answer, as you'll see, is it's a bit of both.
So why is this conversation so important right now? It's simple, really. For our kids, AI isn't some sci-fi movie concept anymore. It's here. It's now. These tools are so easy to access that they're already part of their daily lives, part of their homework. And that's exactly why researchers and pediatricians are saying, hey, we need to pay very close attention to this.
Okay, let's start with the good stuff, the bright side. Researchers are pointing to some genuinely game-changing ways AI could totally transform the classroom for the better. And we're not just talking about getting answers faster. This is about changing the very way students learn things.
Now just think about this for a second. Imagine a tool that can whip up a unique study guide, or custom practice quizzes, or explanations that are perfectly tailored to how one specific student learns. This right here is the biggest promise of AI in education. Finally moving away from that old one-size-fits-all model to something truly personal.
But here's that other side of the coin. What happens when this super helpful tool starts to feel more like a crutch? This is where the research raises some pretty big red flags. There's a real concern that kids could become way too dependent on AI, and that could actually hurt the real goals of education.
And this slide just hits the nail on the head. Look, AI is fantastic at spitting out ideas or explaining a tough concept. But the student's job, the real work, is to take that information and build essential skills, like critical thinking and problem solving. If the AI does all the heavy lifting, those all-important cognitive muscles, they just never get a workout.
So the study really boils these risks down to two huge drawbacks. First, leaning too hard on AI can lead to weaker problem-solving skills, that ability to really wrestle with a problem and figure it out for yourself. And the second one, which is probably no surprise, is a huge spike in plagiarism. It just makes it so much harder to know if a student actually understands the material. And believe me, the risks don't just stop at the classroom door. The very same technology that's powering these learning tools is also creating some new and frankly very scary threats to our kids' mental health. We're talking about AI-powered cyberbullying, exposure to all sorts of bad content, and even these toxic social comparisons that are fueled by something called deepfake technology.
So a huge concern here is this thing called deepfake technology. What is it? Well, the formal definition is basically using AI to create media, so images, videos, audio, that looks and sounds 100% real, but it's completely fake. So imagine a fake video of your kid's classmate saying something awful they never actually said. That's what we're dealing with here. It's digital manipulation on a whole new level.
Let's just pause on that phrase from the researchers for a second. Appears real, but is fabricated. I mean, can you imagine being a kid or a teenager trying to figure out what's real and what's a deepfake? It's almost impossible. The study warns that seeing this stuff, or worse, being the target of it, can cause serious anxiety, social isolation, and do some real long-term damage to their self-esteem.
Okay, so we've got this amazing potential on one hand, and this really serious danger on the other. So what are we supposed to do? Well, the study's summary gives us a pretty clear path forward for how we should all be thinking about AI and our kids. Let's break it down.
The researchers lay out 3 really critical steps for all of us. First, we need to understand what AI can't do, where its limits are, where its biases are. Second, we have to make it a priority to build up those core cognitive skills like critical thinking. And third, everyone's got to be aware that this dangerous fake content is out there and it can be incredibly hurtful. So if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. AI needs to be a tool that enhances learning, not something that replaces the strategies we already know work. It can be an amazing assistant for sure, but it should never be the actual thinker or the problem solver. That job has to belong to the student.
And that kind of leaves us with this one last thought, this really big question. It's pretty clear we have to teach our kids how to use these powerful new tools. But the bigger question, the much more important one is, are we also teaching them the wisdom to know when to use them, how to use them, and maybe most importantly, why? That's the real challenge ahead of us.